Hey everybody, it's Maiden. Good morning. It is Tuesday, February 6th, 10:31, and I'm just going to speak directly to my Congress, my president, on some of the things that have been happening in our street level work here in New Mexico as well as throughout the United States of America. When Congress and the House are deliberating over different issues, they are responsible and hired by the public. However, when we have Congress and House implemented positions that have taken on quite a tenor, some of the people from the 2007 crash are still in our House and Congress, Senate. And if there's ever been a complicit contribution to corporate fraud, it is to go back and see who was in the seats of the House and who was in the seats of the Senate when Secretary Paulson or Treasury Paulson went to them and presented this outrageous idea of bailing out the banks. During that time of 2007, we experienced such a fraud against America, and it was just poo-pooed away. It was basically just completely ignored on the causation of the people of America, we the people. So I am here to talk to you about that specific issue and tell you that now our president, President Donald J. Trump, is a president that was not a part of the 2007 debacle of crashing America. He was also not party to the Bernie Madoff fraud. So it appears as though we don't have leadership to stop this outrageous fraud. I don't see leadership in our Senate, and I don't see leadership in our House. I see really self-centered people that have gigantic egos and checkbooks to be able to stall the system, to be able to stall, and you really don't have a conscience of what you're doing to the common man. I want to read something to you on freedom that Ronald Reagan spoke about. Freedom, this is a quote, "Freedom is a fragile thing, and it's never more than one generation from extinction. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation, for it comes only once, one time. There's very little room for error here." He says it only comes once to a people. Quote, "An increasing number lately at all levels of government have sought control even of the means of production, as if they could not do this without eventually controlling those who produce." Okay, Ronald Reagan. He also went on to say that government is the people's business, and every man, woman, and child becomes a shareholder with the first penny of tax paid. The most meaningful words of the Constitution are the first three: we the people. We are chosen by the people to see that no permanent structure of government ever encroaches on the people's freedom or assumes a power beyond that which has freely been granted to us by the people. This is the President of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan, speaking that the President and the Senate and the House, we are chosen by the people to see that no permanent structure of government ever encroaches on the people's freedom. The Federal Reserve is the biggest criminal of encroaching on the people's freedom through their labor money that they have earned, or assumes a power beyond that which has freely been granted to us by the people. Governor Reagan, as would President Trump, prayed for God's help in governing where the people can participate and prosper because of their government and not in spite of it. In the area of jobs, Reagan sought to, quote, change a relief check to a paycheck, and admonished that, quote, only private industry in the last analysis can produce jobs with a future, unquote. Okay, and then it goes into streamlining. It goes into another quote here. Reagan found two unique ways of accomplishing his goal. He said, quote, if some of you glanced up at the flag today, that's here on the platform. You might have been puzzled by its rather, okay, my phone just died. I was printing out some of these lists of United States legislation, and my computer, all of a sudden, printer just stops. It goes offline, won't let me print. My phone is completely charged, and it just dies. Okay, I am so sick and tired of being your little puppet on a string that you're going to let me speak when I want to speak, and then you're going to cut me off when you're just so tired of hearing the truth. Okay? Our country, the United States of America, is a free country, and the people are the power of this country. And government, I'm talking to Washington, D.C., you are in a place of treason since 2007, evidentiary through the bailout of the banks instead of we the people. You let all kinds of people, really good families, lose their house, lose their land, lose their businesses, bankrupt all over the place, foreclosed on all over the place because you guys are testing out new instruments of finance. This is criminal fraud on a large level that is yet to be, have our marshals grab you guys and throw you into prison. Okay, this is a big deal. So we can either do this nice and have you guys shift in a big way, or you're going to go to prison for what you did. You will eventually go to prison for what you did, okay, unless you shift in a really big way. I have some questions for you here on the list of United States federal legislation. Okay, you've got public and private laws that you're passing, and we can't even see the private ones, and you guys are allowing the shroud of secrecy around it through oaths and whatnot. You are still under oath to disclose adverse material facts of an ethics code. If you don't have an ethics code and you are running rickshaw and you're saying no one's going to ever get me because I'm behind a shroud of amnesty, you're so incredibly diluted. I don't even know. Okay, so we have a Congress of the Federation, and then there's a different United States Congress. The Congress under the Congress of the Federation, there's 4 dates I want you to go look at. September 22nd, 1783, Confederation Congress Proclamation of 1783. April 23rd, 1784, Land Ordinance of 1784. May 21st, 1785, Land Ordinance of 1785. And July 13th, 1787, Ordinance of 1787, the Northwest Territorial Government Northwest Ordinance, otherwise known as. That is not under the United States Congress. The United States Congress is a different Congress than the Congress of the Federation. Congress of the Federation is still alive. And I am telling you right now, we need a disclosure of the Federal Reserve. Immediately, who owns the Federal Reserve? And I bet you any money it's underneath a federation, which is allowing other federations, universal, to be under our federation of the United States of America. Everyone who's in the Congress, and I know who you are, and in the House, and in the Senate, who was there as part of the 2007 bailout, and you did nothing. You sat on your hands. You didn't do anything. Okay? I know who exactly stood on behalf of all of you, Senator McCain, that you just went along with this. Okay? And you totally threw we the people under the bus. One of the most conservative states of Arizona threw the United States under the bus by allowing Paulson and everyone else, Bernanke, all you guys, to throw America, we the people, blue-collar workers, who are the strength and backbone and spine of America, you went ahead and threw them under the bus to bail out the banks. This is a real-life story, what's happened here in New Mexico. One of those big banks, CEO, currently has had a perpetuity list of the Spanish crown here in New Mexico. And they have predatorily invited them to come, to certain families, certain people from those list of who wants borrowers, who want money from these big banks to start a business or whatever. And that CEO grabbed onto Villanueva, one of our local common neighbors here that is very close friends of my husband's family. And he was courted by the CEO of the biggest bank in New York City. And he asked, they brought him over, first class ticket, VIP status, limos picking him up, dropping him off, high-end hotels for first class suites, limos picking him up and bringing him to the CEO's office, and so the CEO can sit there and look at him. And he did. And what was he looking at? Well, this was a veteran officer. This was an officer in one of our armed forces, okay, retired. And he wanted a loan, for a small business loan, to start a business here in New Mexico, in Santa Fe. He wasn't asking for much. He was asking for a small business loan. But what did he get? He got the CEO of the biggest bank in New York City. And this guy is a shark in the water. You want to talk about sharks in the water? This guy is a shark in the water. He knew that he has a perpetuity of the Spanish crown. So he invites him to come to see him in his office in New York City. And he's looking at him like a scientist looking at a bug. And he's asking him questions to see if this guy knows how much he is really open to in his secondary perpetuity. And he didn't know. So he's playing small cards, 2 kings cards that he really is holding. Okay? So your perpetuity, you're holding kings and queens cards, every single one of us. But the bankers want to know if you know that. And if you don't know that, they want to go into partnership agreements with you so that they can get in on your side that you don't know anything about. I am so sick and tired of this exploitation of illiteracy that you guys continue to do because nobody can see what I can see that you're doing. Our own president can't even see it. And he's not even mad about it because he's been messing around with the pieces on the board, and he's not just throwing the whole board across the room and saying we're not playing this anymore. I already told you guys what God told me, and I'm telling you again at a little different of a tone because you don't get it when I'm nice. My children would do that to me too. If I was nice and said, go clean your room, they wouldn't clean the room. But if I started yelling at them like I'm doing right now, they went and they did it double time. And you should see that room was spotlessly clean. So I'm telling you right now, House and Senate and my Congress, that I see you and I am going to rip the sheets literally off your bed and show this world what you have done to America. If you are in the House and you are in the Senate and you were there in 2007, you go to John McCain. I don't care if he's in a hospital bed. You go to him and you deal with him because he's got you guys all on the line to be arrested. Big time. You sold our country out, and those bonds are still ticking. And that is why we're under the threat of a crash. And that is why we're under the threat of our American dollar, completely tanking. It's because of your stupid decisions and your stupid attitudes of exploitation, of illiteracy. Well, you know what? You can't even find your laws and your rules. And you got half of them covered by privacy, and the other half of them covered by your oaths, which you guys don't even live up to. Okay? All of you, without your shield of amnesty, would be treason. You can be tried for treason, and you would spend the rest of your life in jail. You're picking these fall guys to do sexual harassment. You're picking different people to say, okay, you're going to do the fall guy on this. Negative. You guys are all guilty. All of you are guilty. So you know what? Knock it off. I told you what to do. No taxes. 0 taxes for 5 years. Number 1. Number 2, create a new currency that is backed by the people. We the people. Number 3, $6 billion allocation per every citizen of the United States of America. Retroactive payment for all that you have done in abuse and neglect of slavery. I have evidence. I have forensic evidence that slavery has been an issue since the beginning of our country. And we have yet to get a president who is going to knock that game board off the table. We will not play that game anymore. We're done with it. Knock it off. Go get the list of the Federal Reserve owners or fire them. And we're going to do our own commerce. I'm a missionary of Jesus Christ, Messiah, Jesus Christ, Yeshua, Amashiach. If you will recall, the only weapon he ever made had to do with the people of God in the church, wanting to get close to God. And who was there in the middle? The bankers, the money, the economy, stripping away what the people should be giving to God and usurping the position, abusing their power. Jesus sat there. He didn't go buy a gun. He sat there for hours and made a whip and thought about it methodically. And he got angrier and angrier and angrier. You think I'm angry? He was angry. Okay, he's still angry at this. You don't think you're ever going to get caught. I'm looking at your structures. Dude, you guys are turning our postal service into perpetuity accounts by changing all the names of the postal service facilities into people's names. Matthew Troy Morris, Michael E. Phelps, John J. Cook, Jason W. Vaughn, Stephen Blaine. You are turning everything into a perpetuity because you know that's where the wealth is. But are you going to give that perpetuity to the person who owns it like the common man? No, you're going to sit there, you're going to bring him into your high-rise bank building, and you're going to sit there and you're going to look at him to see how much he knows about his wealth. And if he's going to be playing small cards like most of them do here because they don't understand anything but hard work, okay? Exploitation versus illiteracy. That is the plight. And the Supreme Court has power to trump all you guys and say, that's it. That's it. All perpetuity needs to be disclosed immediately. It's in every state, in the dynasty trusts, and we are going to make a pathway to freedom. Okay? Hell or high water. This is Maiden of Santa Fe, Micha G. Valdez, President of the United States candidate for 2020, and I am not playing with you. Goodbye.